Hey, this is Joe, a vocalist from Dharma. We're coming down to Australia for a couple of dates in November. November 9th, we're playing Froth and Fury in Adelaide, and then we're playing Max Watts in Melbourne with Pestilence on Sunday the 10th. So we hope to see you all there. It's Buddhist death metal. If you've never heard it before, come down, check it out, see what we're all about. We hope you like it.
Fantastic, Joe. Thanks for joining us today, brother.
Thanks, man. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to finally get to talk to you.
Yeah, sorry it took so long, mate. We had a couple of little hiccups there, but we're here now.
It's all good, man. It's all good. Though you can't control the weather, no matter how hard you try.
Ah, man, and it raged on for a good couple of days too. It was terrible.
Yeah, it's brutal. We just had a typhoon here going through here as well, so that probably would have wreaked havoc with it anyway. So it's all good.
Wait, as man. So as you mentioned, Dharma hit Australia next month for two shows only, stopping in Adelaide for Froth and Fury Festival on November the 9th, before heading to Melbourne the following day to support Pestilence, mate. Like it's a short and sweet visit, but you're knocking out a couple of good shows while you're here.
Yeah, man. Like I mean, it's we're just kind of dipping our toes in the waters. It's our first time down there. We've wanted to get down to Australia just for so long, and finally the cards aligned. Like we ended up getting involved with Bleeding Art Collective and Greg Shaw, who is based out of Australia, and so he had the hookup. He had the connects with Jason North at Froth and Fury. So shout out to Jason for taking us on. You know, being a new band, it's always a bit of a gamble, you know, for people to take a chance on us. So we don't take that lightly. So we're gonna come down there and we're gonna just rage for two days, man. We're gonna leave. We're gonna leave with nothing left in the tank. We're gonna go down there and just hopefully level the place and hopefully make some new friends, make some new fans as well.
Very cool. Now, when you're on a tour like this, like you're coming to Australia for the first time, like you said, so do you talk to people and get an idea of what to expect, or would you rather just come here and make it up as it goes?
Rather just hit the ground running, man. Like I think we have a little bit of an idea of what to expect. We know fans down there are passionate. We know they like the party. We know they like to get down in the pit and all that, man. So I mean, we have an idea, but it's always nice to be surprised too. You don't want to know too much. You don't want to know everything. It's always nice to go in there and just let the people do what they do and blow you away a little bit. And that always happens no matter where we go. There's always some sort of surprise. And I know Australia is not going to let us down. I know the people there are only going to exceed our expectations. And we have some pretty high expectations, so I don't say that lightly either, but I know this is going to be huge. This is going to be big. The fest and the show, the club show with Pestilence, it's going to be massive. I know the people there are going to bring it.
Yeah. Now, Froth and Fury, it's a massive show, mate. Like you got Fear Factory, North Lane, Die Artist Murder, Psychroptic, and heaps more, man. But are there any bands in particular that you really want to see while you're at it?
Definitely want to catch Die Art as Murder because they came up here a while back and I missed it. I was out of town. I really wanted to go to the show. I'm like, man, when's the next time I'm going to get to see them again? And lo and behold, they're on the bill for this one. So I got to catch them. Fear Factory for sure, just because they're absolute legends. And again, like they had been supposed to come to Taiwan like I don't know 15 years ago, and for some reason the show got canceled. I'm like, again, man, like when am I going to get a chance to see Fear Factory again? They're on the bill too. So
That's
those two for sure. I've been saying it. I've done a few of these interviews, like promoting this little tour in Australia, this little jaunt. I keep saying Test Eagles. I didn't know anything about them before, but the name, like you can't see that name and not like check it out. So I checked that out. Got to go see Test Eagles. Another one I haven't mentioned in interviews yet, but legends from the punk scene there, the Hard-Ons. I
yeah,
got to see the Hard-Ons
yeah. Well,
for
just for the
sure.
name alone, you got to see the hard-ons.
And it's I see it's like a reunion, like they're getting back for like one show only. So if you don't see him now, when are you gonna get the chance to see him again? So those ones for sure. But like I've said before, in these other little chats I've had, like up and down the bill, you can't go wrong all day long. So it's gonna be huge. And I'm gonna be when we're not playing, I'm just gonna be running back and forth like all three stages all day long. I'm gonna leave dehydrated and probably with a bit of a sunburn and a big ass smile on my face. I know that much.
There you go. Anyone listen, this is going to be at the show. Make sure if you see Joe running by you, Hand me a bottle of water.
Hand me a bottle of water and don't, if you see me looking like a lobster, just don't slap me on the back because I'll scream. I'll scream like a little girl. I guarantee it.
Yeah. So you sort of touched on this a little bit before, bro, but you're playing with Pestilence the night after. So how different are the two shows going to be? Like one's at a festival in that environment, and the other one's at a music club for a specific purpose. Like, are they going to be different sets?
It's going to be the same set both nights, I believe, because I think we got the same amount of time for both. I think it's about 30-minute set for each show. So we're going to prepare the same set. But it's a different environment. You got the festival environment where it's a bigger crowd, it's a different kind of vibe. Uh, the energy is different. You're a little bit farther away from people too. That's the only thing that you might call a downside to a festival environment. You don't get that like right up close and personal thing. But then the club show, you get people right up front. You're sweating on each other, you're bleeding on each other, you're screaming in each other's faces. So it's a different type of energy. They're both good in their own way. So I like the fact that we're just going to come down there, rage for these two shows, but we got kind of get the best of both worlds. You get the huge festival vibe, big stage energy, big act energy, and then we get the privilege of performing with the legends in Pestilence, something I never would have imagined. I'm like 15-year-old me is freaking out right now. But we get to do it in the club setting. You get the people right up front, and we just hope people come out early, check us out, get up to the front, get in the pit, and give us a shot. You won't be let down.
Yeah. I've never actually thought to ask this one before, bro, but like from a band point of view, like you're coming out here and not a great deal of people know the band. So do you find you get more fans from a festival with like an eclectic audience there watching different bands, or going to say Pestilence and you've got a shitload of people there, but they're sort of all there for the one reason?
I think there's a chance for both. Definitely the festival. It's a wider audience. It's a more diverse audience. Some people might be there more for the punk show, for the punk band. Some might be there more for like the more mainstream acts, the more sing-songy type of vibe. Some people might be there more for like the brutal acts. And I think our band, we've got a little bit of everything to offer to people. So hopefully we can draw people from all those different audiences and kind of make them a part of our tribe. That's the goal anyway, to go there to the festival. And in the club setting, again, it's a different sort of opportunity, but where people get a chance to get closer to you, and where there's an environment where there's less people, where maybe they can come up and feel more free to have a chat with you after the show, talk to you. That's always really nice because you get more of a chance just to spend time with people. And it's not only the music that draws you in, they're drawn to the personalities in the band too. So it gives them a chance to talk to you, see what you're all about, learn a little bit. We learn a little bit about them, they learn a little bit about us. So different sorts of opportunities, but they are both absolutely opportunities for us to hopefully win some people over and just get to know people. I mean, this whole thing that we do, this extreme metal thing, it's not it's not about money, it's not about definitely not about fame, but it is about people. The whole thing that's kept me going for 20 years doing this is I go someplace, I play a show, I walk away with at least 4 or 5 like people that I'm gonna know for years down the road. And if I'm coming into your town, I can say, hey buddy, like can I crash on your couch? Can we hang out, go see the sights? And it's vice versa. They coming through Taipei, I'll show them around. I'll play host. I'll take them out for a meal, show them the good spots. So I mean that's what it's all about at the end of the day.
Now, speaking of learning, bro, like for the benefit of people that might not be too familiar with Dharma, just give us a brief history of the band.
Brief history. Okay, let me cram 20 years into 2 minutes.
Good
Yeah,
luck.
I've known Jack, our drummer, for like I say, about 20 years. We've been playing in bands for that whole time, different bands. We had a death metal band for a number of years. We had a grindcore band for a number of years. And then a few years ago, it was his idea to start up Dharma. He's been a devout Buddhist his entire life since birth, and he always wanted to kind of meld the two worlds of Buddhism and extreme metal. He just had trouble finding people who could kind of share the vision. And finally, just a few years ago, through his connections with various bands that he's played in, he took Andy from Demise, a death metal band that he'd played in. He took me from Revilement and Stench of Lust, both bands that he had played in, and a few other friends from other groups. And he was finally able to get some demos done and convince people that, yeah, this can work. We can do kind of like what Nile did with like Egyptology and Middle Eastern sort of vibes and music and history, and do that with Buddhism and death metal. And he got the demos done, was able to show those around. We took him around to the Buddhist community, like to temples, kind of like did almost like a presentation, like this is what death metal is. Like here's Cannibal Corpse, here's Behemoth, here's Nile. This is what it sounds like. This is what we want to do. Play them our demos. And the authorities, the higher ups in these Buddhist organizations and temples, thankfully they went for it. They were actually like they sat there and they seriously considered it. They listened to it, and they said, "Yeah, you have our blessing to go ahead and do it." So with that, we just started playing shows. Our first show was with Marduk from Sweden. So that was a diverse bill. You had the Satanists and the Buddhists playing on the same bill, same stage. So that was an interesting start. And we've just been rolling ever since. Playing a lot in Taiwan and also getting out to India, Hong Kong, Japan, and now down to Australia.
Oh. Live shows have been described as fascinating and brutal. Do you think that's a pretty fair assessment?
I like that. Yeah, fascinating. I hope it's interesting for people because we do take we present it like a ritual, like a ceremony. It's not unlike it's basically like if you go to a Buddhist temple and a death metal show broke out. So we have Master Miaobin, which is she's been a nun for the better part of 30 years, and she is on backup vocals and a few other instruments with us. She's kind of like the MC of the whole thing. She begins the show with a blessing for all of the people there, which she sings out for the crowd, and we dive into the set list, which is if people are not familiar with our songs, all our songs are the original like Buddhist sutras and mantras in Sanskrit, and some of them we sing also in Chinese, and we just make death metal songs out of them. So in between those, Master Miaoben has her own kind of solo spots where she's again singing the intros to the song. She's on backing vocals for some of the songs. And yeah, the music, I mean, we're all lifelong hardcore lifer metalheads. So it's not Barbara Streisand, I'll say that much. It's not it's brutal. It's brutal. I hope people walking away say, yeah, that was brutal. But I hope they're also intrigued in a way. We're not coming to uh convert people. We're not coming there to say, oh yeah, you should adopt our beliefs. It's a concert, it's a show. It's about having a good time. It's about feeling better when you leave than when you came in. That's what we hope. But we also hope that we expose you to something a little bit different than if you went to see any other sort of band, just through absorbing the culture that we have here in Taiwan and some aspects of Buddhist pomp and ceremony as well.
Now, you mentioned that you take the Buddhist sutras and the mantras and you combine them with the death metal, but is that an easy process? Like when these things were first done, like they would never have been imagined to go with death metal. So is it easy to meld them?
It was a challenge, not so much for me, but for Andy Lin on guitar. He's our main songwriter. Now, fortunately for him, he grew up in the environment. His family actually runs a temple in Nantou in central Taiwan, way up in the mountains. So he was born into this. He was surrounded by all of this music and all of this culture since birth. So he's very well steeped in the knowledge and the history and also the musical traditions of Buddhism and Taoism. So it was at least somewhat natural for him to take death metal, which he got into later, maybe his early preteen years or teenage years, and to try and bring these two things together. It was still daunting because you're looking to maintain the traditions but also do something entirely new. And to do those two things at the same time, it's antithetical. It's anathema. It's hard. It's really it's really hard to do. In short, so I think it was daunting for him, but as we've been rolling along, it's slowly becoming something more natural as we find our sound and fine tune it and try to find a way to kind of make it 50-50. Like you've got the tradition, but you're also trying to do something entirely new with it. Neither of those things are easy, but we're slowly getting the hang of this thing.
I sort of tossed up and down whether to ask this question because I don't want it to come across the wrong way, bro. But do, do you find that the traditionalists get upset by what you're doing?
No, and then I don't mind that question at all. It's so far we've found the traditionalists. Are you talking about like traditionalists in the metal sense or in the sense of the faith?
Yeah, sense of the faith.
No, actually, they've actually been very welcoming and open-minded. Buddhism in general, it's not so much of a closed-minded fundamentalist sort of vibe. It within some of the sutras, there's even lines where if you translate them, it says you can sing the praises of the Buddha in many ways. So, and this is a tradition that goes back thousands of years. It's something that's bred into the DNA of Buddhism. And even when I first started in the band, of course, we have a nun in the band. It doesn't get much more traditional than that when it comes to Buddhism. And when I first joined, I was not yet a Buddhist practitioner, and I was still kind of steeped in the old ways of, well, just my lifestyle. Like I was a drinker, I was a partier. I was looking for a change to that, but I was still very much doing all of that. And I just asked her straight up, does that matter? Does that bother you? And she told me what matters most is what is in your heart, your intention. Everything else will follow from that. And I think that's sort of the attitude that has prevailed everywhere else as well among people who might consider themselves more traditional, more, for lack of a better word, like fundamentalists. They see what our intention is. It's not something we're doing for attention. It's not something we're doing because we think it's, for lack of a better word, it's just something that's going to just draw attention to ourselves. We're not, it's not attention seeking behavior. It's something that comes from a place of purity. It comes from pure motivation. So I think they can see that. I think that comes through in what we do and how we conduct ourselves. So the backlash so far, thankfully, has been minimal. There are other acts out there who have combined like DJing in Buddhism and pop music in Buddhism. There has been backlash here and there against them. For some reason, the weird death metal band has escaped that for some reason. I'm not going to question it. I'm gonna knock on my wooden desk here right beside me just in case. But so far, so good.
While I was doing a bit of research, mate, I came across a story that said you've had people at your shows crowd surfing in the lotus position. Is that actually true?
Yeah.
That'd be
No,
fucking.
yeah, that like this is not something that we told people to do. Like we didn't know how people were going to react at first from the get-go, from the jump. We had no idea. But the very first show, that one we did with Marduk, this guy jumped up and the crowd surfing as normal, and then he just sprung into the lotus position, and it became a thing. It just became something that people do at our shows. It became like our version of like at an Amon Amarth show, like people like jump down and start rowing the boat, which is awesome. It became like our kind of smaller scale version of that. So now pretty much every show without fail, we'll see like a number of people. If that happens in Australia, I'm gonna just lose it. Like it's gonna like please, if anybody's hearing this and you're wondering if you should, yes, you definitely should. Jump up there in the lotus position. It makes us feel at home. It puts a smile on our face and hopefully on the faces of everybody else as well. It's a fun thing, it's our own thing. It's been really nice to see that.
Wait. Now, before we let you go, bro, I've started a new segment I've called Photo Bomb, and basically I just troll through your social media before I talk to you, and I pick out a couple of photos, and I
Okay.
asked to talk about them. Like normally they're funnier sort of ones, but I've came across a few from you guys that I reckon have some really cool stories with them. So we'll start on this one. What's happening there?
This was a show actually I didn't play this show. I had come back from Canada. This was a New Year's Eve show. We played at a temple way up in the mountains. And I had gone home for Christmas to Canada and I got COVID. So I came back and I was just kind of all still messed up. My throat was bad, had trouble breathing. So a friend of mine from a band called Dark Charybdis, who you can see in the middle there, he's all black, kind of in darkness and shadow. But his name is Kenneth. He's a sick vocalist, and he saved the show. He jumped in short notice, and he played the show. So they went up there to the mountain, to the temple, played the show to a few hundred people, and then it being New Year's Eve, there was a massive traffic jam down the mountain. So it was about a 20-minute trip up and about a 4-hour trip down. So COVID saved me from a traffic nightmare that night, that New Year's Eve, while I sat at home and struggled to breathe.
Very cool. All right. Next one I've got is that one. What's going on there?
That's our drummer. That's Jack. Starting off this show, that looks like when we played a big festival down in Kaohsiung called Megaport. Now this was at a not quite an arena, but like this huge concert hall where you can fit about 5,000 people in there. And we had no idea how many people were going to show up. So we were standing outside by the bay doors outside before some of the guys were having a smoke. We're just chilling out, getting ready. And we see people walking towards the entrance, just kind of streaming towards it. And it was an outdoor festival mostly. So we thought, okay, maybe people are just going inside for some AC. They just want to cool off and then they'll go to the other outdoor stages. And then when we went on, this is Jack going out there first to start off the ceremony by playing some beats on the wooden frog, it's called, if you translate it into English. And he's lighting the incense there beside him. You can see as well, which we light before our performance. The place was packed. 5,000 people came to see us on that stage. So he's got his back to the audience here. He's prostrating himself before, you can't really see it, but the visuals there are an image of the Gautama Buddha, which we pray to before our performance. So this is just before what, to date, hopefully before Froth and Fury, is our largest performance ever.
Very cool. And I've got one more for you. This one here, beautiful photo. What's going on there?
This is Jack's mothership of a drum set that he lugs around everywhere with him. This is the bane of our overweight charges for overseas shows. This is this is why we're paying those overweight fees, because that's a huge gong that he strikes before. Usually the song that is first in our set list. I think he actually only hits that thing once. So we carry this thing all over the world now. It's massive. It weighs, I don't even know how many kilograms. I just know the airlines love us because we end up having to pay more for it. But it's an important part of the visuals of the performance, and it kicks off the show. Once you hear that gong, you know we're not messing around. It resonates. You feel it rattling in your skull, and it's kind of like the starter's gun for me personally. Like it's almost like it flips a switch in my head that says it's go time. Let's level this place. Let's go out there, and if it's a new audience, let's win these people over. Let's leave them wanting more. So that's you're gonna see it when we're down there in Adelaide and Melbourne. We're gonna lug it all the way down there. We're gonna carry it all the way back. So it's come check it out. It's a sight to see. I'll tell you that much.
Right. All right, Joe. Well, thanks very much for your time, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure getting to know you, bro. Dharma will be in Australia 2 dates only. November the 9th at Froth and Fury in Adelaide. Following night supporting Pestilence in Melbourne. So hopefully it goes well for you, mate, and you come back again soon and come visit the rest of Australia.
Thanks, man. We look forward to it, and we'll see you all down there.